So let me just do a little introduction about myself and the webinar program. So I'm Zach O'Neill. I'm a WEM success specialist. Specifically, I focus a lot on the QA product, quality assurance, which we're focusing on today. Today is the first part of our three-part series called 3 Steps to Implement Zendesk QA. And today we're starting at the very beginning, step 1, how to create and evaluate your QA scorecard. So for a couple of the housekeeping things, so thank you for all chatting and introducing yourselves and getting hype for our webinar. Moving forward though, please use the Q&A to ask your questions. And that way our team is able to to answer those questions as we progress. You don't have to wait towards the end. We are going to save some time for me to answer these questions live. But I just want to call out supporting me is Anesh. She is another WEM success specialist, and she is going to be manning the chat and answering your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment. I'm going to pull up our QA platform, and we'll get started. And yeah, now if you have 2 screens, it's always nice to kind of follow along. So open up your Zendesk QA now. Excellent. So we've jumped into the Zendesk QA product. Let's actually talk about first how do you get here. So if you're in your Zendesk, in the upper right-hand corner, you can click on these boxes. This is going to bring up the product tray. In the product tray, you can click on quality assurance, and it's going to take you into the QA platform. From within the platform, the first thing we want to talk about is permissions, right? How do you set up your account? And also who has access to this account? So I'm going to go in the upper right-hand corner and click on the settings here. And we're going to take a quick pit stop here at the settings first, just giving you a walkthrough. I guess I'll call out here that this training is tailored to individuals who are Zendesk admins or account managers, because there are some things that you need to be at that level for those permissions. And I'll walk you through how to get that permission if you don't have it. So what I wanted to clarify here at the settings page is the top level are personal settings, and then the bottom level are account settings. If you don't see this section, it's because you're not a Zendesk admin or a QA account manager. So now, to show you what that is and what that means, I'm going to go back to my settings in the upper right, and we're going to go to users, bots, and workspaces. Within this view, I'm able to see all of the users that come into Zendesk QA. How this works is all users in Zendesk who have a full seat have access into Zendesk QA, right? If you are a light agent or contributor, you do not have access into Zendesk QA. So the first thing is everyone from Zendesk comes over into QA. Once you're in QA, there are 2 types of account permission levels you could be. You could be a user, or you can be a admin / account manager. So admins from Zendesk come into QA, and they are also admins here. They are locked in at the highest level. If you want to give someone QA admin access, but not Zendesk admin access, then what you will do for that person is you're going to click on user, and you're going to change them to account manager. Account managers are basically QA admins. And this is a necessary level if you want to edit scorecards, which is what we're going to be doing today. So you choose account manager. That's the first piece of getting set up. Second is you have one workspace that should be created already for you automatically. It probably says like your company name. And most of the time you can get away with having just one workspace. But I at least want to call out that you can make multiple workspaces. And why might you want to make multiple workspaces? A workspace, think of it as a sub account, right? So in these sub accounts, you can set different user permissions and give different people access. So a common use case is, let's say I have my in-house support team in my organization, but I also outsource my tier 1 support team to a BPO. I might have a separate workspace for the BPO. Or if you want to like have totally separate teams, separate scorecards, and separate instances, that's why you'd have multiple workspaces. That's, maybe a bit more advanced. For now, just stay within your one workspace and you can always add one later. Within your existing workspaces, now we're going to go to the members page. So the first page I showed you was the account level permissions. There are workspace level permissions too, meaning permissions related into this sub account. And these ones are more nuanced and specific and tailored. So I'm going to click on a person and I'll walk through the 4 workspace levels. So we're going to go from the bottom to the top, the least visibility and functionality to the most. So agents, these are going to be the people who are agents, right? The individuals who are answering tickets. The reviewers are the people who are filling out the scorecards, right? But their only role is filling out the scorecards. They're able to review and also check out the dashboards. They're limited on the settings. Leads, these individuals are typically the managers of the reviewers, right? They're responsible for the success of the reviewer. So as a lead, I might need to create assignments, manage disputes, and host calibration sessions. Finally, at the top, we have managers. That's the highest level within the workspace. They can see and manage everything across this workspace. And that's going to be your workspace permissions. Coming down to the next one, we're going to go to general. Underneath general, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but one of the features, the primary features of Zendesk QA is our AI features. We have spotlights, which are AI insights that are tagged to a ticket, and you'll also have auto QA. Auto QA is the AI filling out a scorecard for the agent. If you want to ensure that auto QA is not visible to the agents, then these are the settings that you're going to need to set up in your workspace. So we're going to have unbiased grading checked, self-reviews unchecked, and then you'll press Save Changes. So what does this mean? Why do we do this? Unbiased grading means that people who are at the reviewer level aren't able to see other reviews left by other reviewers that could impact their review process. This is not applied to leads or manager levels. Self-reviews, in general, I always recommend unchecking self-review because unless you have a process where you want agents to be self-reviewing themselves, it's not a necessary feature. So we press save, and that's that. So that's kind of the, let's call it boring sides of just like the turning on the platform. Now you're ready to go. So we're going to go into the main feature of the entire solution, which is our scorecard, right? Like all of Zendesk QA revolves around your scorecard. Before I get into showing you how to build a scorecard, I'm going to show you what a completed version of a scorecard looks like for inspiration. So I clicked on the second tile here. This is the conversations view. All conversations from Zendesk are synced into Zendesk QA. By default, they're going to be unfiltered. You can, though, with the filters on the left-hand side, you can make custom filters to only show you the conversations that you want to see. And we'll talk more about the conversations view in a second after I take some time to walk you through a completed version of a scorecard. So I'm going to click on review conversation in the upper right. I can click this clipboard icon or I can click review, whatever feels right to you. And this is going to open up a scorecard. So this scorecard on the right-hand side, a couple of aspects I want to call out for the things that you can customize about the scorecard are the following. I guess I will say there's a lot of customizability with the scorecard. This is just our version. You get to complete one fully from scratch, but also we've helped you by creating a default scorecard, which is a really good place to start. Some of the pieces I want to call out on the functionality of a scorecard. So let's talk terminology. We call the whole thing a scorecard. We call these aspects categories, right? The parts of a scorecard are your categories. You can break the scorecard into subsections called category groups. Category groups, as you can see, this section here says process. This section is for soft skills. And so it's kind of separated. This is beneficial for a couple of reasons. One, visualization, right? I know what the sections are. Two is reporting. I'm going to be able to know not only how my scorecard is performing for my team, I'm going to know how the category groups are also performing, right? So now with the categories here, you can have the rating can be a 2, 3, 4, or 5, between 2 and 5. Best practice, what we recommend is most of your categories should be binary, thumbs up, thumbs down. The reason being is this whole QA process, it's subjective no matter what, right? It goes through our human lens here. And the way to make QA the most actionable is to make it objective and coachable and actionable, right? So like by making it binary, it's easier for me to review. And then if I'm an agent, it's easier for me to understand. You can always do a 4 or 5, right? Like I said, we do offer this rating scale, but you just need to be very clear with your reviewers and with your agents, like what is a 4 versus a 5? How do you quantify that? Because if I'm an agent and I receive a 4, why is it not a 5? Just something to chew on. Other parts of a scorecard you can add are the root causes, which is really sweet. You can make it mandatory that if I go to, let's say, let's see, this one. Okay, this is not a good example for this one. Let me choose another one. Coming down here to solution accuracy. If I press the down vote here on solution accuracy, I am hit with this form. This form is called the root causes. This is also customizable, fully customizable by you as you're building this out. The idea is if I'm going to put a downvote here, what are the quantitative reasons about why, or qualitative, about why I'm saying that the solution wasn't accurate? So I can choose these from the drop down, or I can do an open text field. Another thing to call that's special about this category is you see here it has 2 red exclamation points. I'll do a quick little zoom in here. 2 red exclamation points. This category is called a critical rating category. What does this mean? For the double red exclamation points, this is a full fail critical rating category, meaning if I downrate the agent on this category, they are going to get a 0 across the entirety of the scorecard, right? Some people call this auto fail. The idea is it doesn't matter if they were very nice, they had an opening and a closing and these other good things. If they didn't provide an accurate solution, they haven't done the bare minimum and they fail the scorecard. Fail meaning 0. If you are looking for a semi-fail version of that, then you have another way, which you see here, the yellow single exclamation point. How this works is if I fail the agent on this category, I don't fail the whole scorecard, I just fail the category group, this section. And we'll talk a little bit more about the weighting and the weighting of this and how that works whenever you're building out your scorecard. The last piece I'll kind of build us up to is talking about what is the score of a scorecard, right? And this is also useful for terminology. Internally at Zendesk QA, this is called the IQS, or internal quality score. That's the rating that the agent received on a scorecard. How is this calculated? the simplest way to put it is, let's say you have 10 categories on a scorecard. If each category is worth 1 point and they get 8 out of 10 categories right, they get an 8 out of 10, which is an 80%, right? Simple enough. But you can get very nuanced and complex in that every category might not be worth the same points. And so you can find that appropriate balance to see what is worth more and what is worth less. That's it for the preview. Let's now go into the builder. So I'm going to click in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to go to settings. And once again, you need to be an admin or an account manager to do this. On the left-hand side, there's a section called scorecards. And we're going to click here. So giving you a lay of the land of this section first before we go into the builder, I'm gonna do that. First thing, actually, I talked a little bit about Auto QA, right? Auto QA is the AI agent who is going to fill out a scorecard for your agent. You're going to have to make sure that this is turned on. Let's also do that too. So when I come to this scorecard place, there's this nice little tooltip that says, hey, as a heads up, whether you're enabled or not. If you're not, we're going to go into the settings, and it's going to take us there. And this is also underneath general. And make sure that these first two ones are toggled on: automatic scoring with Auto QA and LLM-based Auto QA. If you can't see these, this part, I think you have to be a Zendesk admin specifically to see these two. That was my quick tangent. So let's talk about the scorecard page layout. So we have 3 different tabs. We have scorecards, we have categories, which are the parts of a scorecard, right? The ratings. And then we have root causes, which are those drop-down menu items on top of a category. And we'll talk about that as we go into the builder. In your account, you will have one scorecard already. I think it's called default. It may be main scorecard. I don't remember. I apologize, but you have one, and that's your default one. And you can go into that one and edit it, or you can leave it be. I would recommend to leave that scorecard as it is. And why is that? The reason is that in your account, this is going to look a little bit different than mine. But in that version of the scorecard, you have 3 manual rating categories at the top, meaning categories that the AI cannot answer. However, below that, you have all 8 default Auto QA categories that are enabled. The fact that those are on a scorecard mean that the AI will work, right? The AI will rate the agent on those 8 categories. So that's just one of the pieces that you would need to set up, but the fact that that's on a scorecard already means you're good to go there. So that's what I would say don't touch your default one. What I do recommend though is you should then make your own scorecard. You're going to make your own scorecard, one that you will be the person to be, the team who is actually filling out this scorecard. So we're going to click create in the upper right hand corner. We're going to click on scorecard, and then we come into the builder. So we're going to give it a name. We decide which workspace or workspaces this is going to show in. If you have just one workspace, you'll only see one. This would only be applicable if you had multiple workspaces. Then you could actually, you could specify, right? And then this one, workspaces with Auto QA enabled. Just make sure that these are always toggled on if you have an Auto QA category on your scorecard. So now to build this out, I'm going to do 2 things. So first is I'm actually going to create those sections called the category groups. And then once I've created my category groups, I'm going to add my categories underneath it. So let's do add group section. And I'm going to call this one soft skills. And then I'm going to do another group section. And I'm going to call this one process. So now I'm going to put my soft skills tied categories here and my process specific ones there. To add a section, I'm actually going to press the plus underneath here. So soft skills, I'm going to press plus. And then the nice thing is right now, you'll have the 8 default to choose from. But over time, this becomes easier in that you are going to actually have to manually make some categories. Once you've made them, you can then choose them from the drop down. So for the soft skills first, I'm actually going to lean on the auto QA categories here, because one of the benefits of adding an auto QA category to the scorecard that you are filling out is when you go to fill out your scorecard, you will be able to see what auto QA had given the agent, and that's going to help you do your review a lot faster. So under these soft skills, let's definitely do spelling and grammar. And I'm going to just choose that, and then I'll press apply, and then I'll talk about the other specifics in a second. And then I'll choose another soft skill. Let's do empathy. Okay, so I've chosen empathy. Moving our way to the right, this is the customization of the rating scale. Excuse me. I'm actually going to go up above for spelling and grammar because I want to show you that you can do other rating scale numbers. So spelling and grammar, I'm going to click the drop down. I can do 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then, as I said, the categories each have a weight attributed to them. By default, every category is worth 10 points. But if you want to make something worth more, then you could make it higher. One of the really nice features I like about the builder as you're working on it, quick tangent, is you'll see that I can hover over a category and it's going to give me the percentage that that category is going to be worth to the total IQS, right? A weight of 10 contributes 50% here. And that's just really helpful as you build it to find the right balance. So I'm going to add my categories, and at the top, there's a total weight. So it's going to show me how many points are in there. Best practice is like the easiest way to build a scorecard is to build your categories with weighting that adds up to 100, right? Because in that one, 5 points is 5%, 20 points is 20%. You can do other points, right? It doesn't have to be 100, but that just makes it a little bit more clear without having to do some math. So coming down further, let's talk about some of the other features that you can add to a category. So if you remember, on the scorecard, I talked about the semi-fail and the full fail features. That's the critical rating category. To enable critical rating category, I'm going to click on here, critical category, and I can decide fails the whole review, meaning they get a 0 on the entirety scorecard, or fails the group only, which in the current state means that they would only fail soft skills. And then I'll press apply. Now, those are my soft skills categories. I leaned on the AI here because the AI is really, like, our default categories are really good for doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the soft skills. However, one of the limitations of auto QA is it doesn't know everything about your processes, right? It doesn't know the specifics. It's not able to know what's going on outside of the ticket either. So this is where the human expertise comes in. You know, our best practice is to be the most effective QA individual. It's not just like fully outsourcing it to the AI and hoping that it does your job, right? We're not there yet. We don't want it to be. We want to be. All right, I'm coming back. My headphones died there. Sorry about that. What I was saying is AI is supposed to be working with you. So outsource the soft skill stuff to auto QA, but for your process specific things, this is where the manual QA comes into play. So I'm going to walk you through now how to make your own category. I'm going to press the plus category here. And then from here, we are going to click on category. And then this is our list of pre-made categories. I can then come here to create manual category. I'm going to give this a name. So we'll just say like process followed. And then the description. So we could just say like, did they follow our process? Whatever that would be. And press create. Now I have this added. And this is my manual category. And then I have like full customizability here. Last item I'll show you here on the category creator is that root causes, right? So I can then decide, I'm going to click this toggle here. Process followed, thumbs up, thumbs down. I can say, if they didn't follow the process, what did they get wrong? So I can click in this section. Maybe agent didn't tag. Whatever, broken laws, whatever they are. Like we have a ton of, did not follow the process. I mean, these are kind of general, but you get the idea in that you're going to add the reasons for the reviewer to click to say why they are not doing well on this category. You can also do positive ones if you want. So like, hey, they did follow the process. What did they do well? Most of the time, like clients definitely use root causes for downvote, less so for upvote. But either way, it's nice to have this for another layer of reporting and tracking, right? Because you can see that in the dashboard, which we'll cover towards the end. If you want to include an other option, an open text field response, you can click this to yes. And then if you do, by default, it's by default, it's radio buttons, meaning you'd only select one root cause. If you want to do multi-select checkbox, you're going to flip the switch here, and now they can choose multiple root causes. And then I'll press apply. And that's kind of the gist of creating a scorecard, right? First, you have your group sections, then you add your categories, and then you build it. And then, of course, as you're working your way through checking out the weighting, and then you press publish, and then that scorecard is live. If I want to edit any scorecard, we can, of course, click here and go to edit. If I want to edit a category that I made previously, I can go to the category section. I can go to find the one. I think this is the one I just made. Process followed. For our account cleanliness sake, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. As a heads up, though, this is just a warning message saying if you delete a category, like if you're deleting a category that has been collecting data, that data will be erased for that category. So just to keep that in mind. This doesn't matter for me though, because this is a demo one. Similarly to if you want to review your root causes, you can then see them from this page. Last aspect to highlight here is the settings. Things that you can do is, first off, you can do emojis instead of numbers. I think that's the default. That's what I recommend. I think it's just the most clear. However, if you uncheck it, it's going to be, instead of thumbs up, thumbs down, or to 5, right, the smileys, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 or 2. And then you can allow people to skip categories, meaning the whole thing is mandatory. Excuse me. You can allow them to skip categories, meaning that it's not mandatory. Or if you untoggle this, it means that the scorecard is mandatory and they can't skip it. And now we're going to go back into the conversations view because I want to walk you through my recommended flow on how to best fill out a scorecard with all the information that I said, and then we'll close out with our dashboard. So I'm back in our conversations view. Imagine you've created your scorecard. Now let's start to do the fun stuff, which is filling out the scorecards for the agents. So I filter my view on the left-hand side to show me the conversations I want to. In this middle section, or in this side section here, this is just a thread of all of the tickets that match my filters. In the middle, this is the thread between the agent who is in blue and the customer who is in gray, and you can scroll and make your way through. You can also see status changes. And then if I go all the way to the right, I recommend working your way up the ladder on the sidebar from the bottom to the top. We're going to start with the eye icon, which is for info. The info shows you all the metadata that's being pulled over from Zendesk into QA. So we can see who's a participant. Here's the Zendesk ID, right? And I'll even do a quick tangent. If you want to go see this ticket over in Zendesk, you click here, and it's going to open up into a new window. So I can come check this out here. And actually, lastly, I'll just give you like a quick bonus feature knowledge. If you are interested in being able to QA tickets directly from Zendesk instead of going into QA, you can download our browser extension for Chrome. It's a Zendesk QA browser extension. We have a support article on it. But I just want to show you, it's pretty cool. I can click this extension, and then I can fill out the scorecard right from here. So that's just one little side piece. Coming back though into the flow of how you should be QAing tickets within QA, info icon, like I said, this is all your metadata from Zendesk, Zendesk tags, and then some other status, email, that good stuff. We're going to work our way up to the next tile, which is feedback. What lives in feedback? Within feedback, we're going to see our AI features, so spotlights and auto QA. And we're going to see other reviews that have been left by other reviewers. And lastly, CSAT. So let's talk through each of these. Spotlight is an AI feature at Zendesk QA. How this works is it scans the entire customer-facing conversation. And if something matches what a customer said, or what an agent said, or what a chatbot said, it's going to flag that as a spotlight onto the ticket. So I can see this at the micro level, like, oh, this ticket has escalation requested. I can then also filter on the left side. I want to look for all tickets where escalation was requested. Spotlight is similar to Auto QA, but different in that one, it's tied to the ticket and not the agent. And two, it's not a rating, right? There's no like metric tied to it. Unlike Auto QA, which is the AI scorecard. What I recommend here is think of Auto QA as another member of your team. The reason I say that is you can't change Auto QA's scorecard. And we do this intentionally. Auto QA has its own scorecard and its own metric called AQS, or automated quality score. And then the humans have their own score called IQS, or internal quality score. They're never together, they're always separated. So with Auto QA, it's another member of your team. You can't change the score. But I'm going to use this for reference. I can see how the AI said this. I can also see the CSAT. And then the last piece is going through the steps of filling out the scorecard. Some of you may be thinking after I said, Zach, you said you can't change Auto QA. Like, what happens if I disagree with the Auto QA, though? What does that mean? So how that works is there's a feature called accuracy. Accuracy is something that you can review in the Auto QA dashboard to show you how frequently you are agreeing or disagreeing with the Auto QA categories. And that's going to help you make educated decisions to decide which categories you should or shouldn't be including, right? The reality is some categories may work better for your instance than others. It's all about experimentation. Try them out in the beginning and see how it works. So for here, right, I'm manually filling out my scorecard here on the right-hand side. You'll notice though that these ones have already been filled out for me. So what's happening here? This is the auto QA, but this is simply a reference for me. It's saying, hey, this is how the auto QA rated the agent on these metrics for your reference. Regardless of whether or not I keep it the same or I change it, when I press submit at the bottom, that counts as a human submitted score, right? So just keep this in mind that this process is still a manual feedback process. You just have the assistance or the guidance of the auto QA. So I'd make my way clicking through. By default at the top, it chooses the person to review the agent. You can choose other individuals as well. Plus, if you have multiple scorecards, you can always choose the other versions of the scorecards. Like if you follow my recommendation, you're going to have your default scorecard, and then you'll have your main scorecards, the one that you'll be submitting. So you'll switch to your main one. So I'll work my way through here, and then I will press submit, or I put my comments in, and then press submit, and then the scorecard is submitted. Now, over time, right? Over time, once you're submitting scores, this is going to go to your dashboard. You're going to be able to see overall how your team is performing on each of these categories. So let's check this out. You're not going to have data to look at, probably not, unless you did a trial or something. But this is more down the line, but let me show you. Let me talk about the two major dashboards. So we have the reviews dashboard and the auto QA dashboard. Remember, I said that auto QA has its own score and the humans have their own score, and that's visualized here with these two dashboards too. We have the auto QA dashboard and reviews dashboard. We're going to start off with the auto QA dashboard, just because I'm going to do like a quick run through of this one, but spend more time on the reviews dashboard. The auto QA dashboard is a summarization of all of the AI submitted reviews, right? We have our filtering at the top, and then you can scroll through here to see how the AI is rating your team. A couple of ones I'll call out as some of my favorite visualizations. I can see the overall AQS, right? The automated quality score, the performance based on the AI. And then I'll come down a bit further to this one. This is my favorite chart on the auto QA dashboard because I think it gives you everything you need to know. These are our 8 default auto QA categories. This is the score that the AI has given our team after scanning the tickets. And then the last piece, remember when I was talking about accuracy score? Accuracy is calculated by how frequently you are agreeing or disagreeing with the AI. So we'll see over here on the side accuracy. And that'll help you, because one of like the benefits of the AI, right? So I guess I'll say first piece to clarify, the AI is not going to be perfect, and that is to be expected. It works on the language model, and based on the context, it tries its best to understand everything, right? So I know we all love Chat GPT and all these things, but like I think managing expectations is that it's not going to be perfect every single time. But the auto QA is going to be scanning all of the tickets, even the tickets that you never get to. So with that, you can have like more coverage than you even imagined. So since the AI is scanning all of these tickets and it's able to rate them on these categories, we can extrapolate, right, to say even the categories that we never got to, or even the tickets we never got to. AI says that our agents are scoring an 83 on empathy. We agree with the AI 89% of the time. So we have an 89% confidence rating in this understanding of empathy across all of our tickets. And that's how you can do it. Accuracy here is just like to give you the confidence in the AI. But we feel really, really good about it. You know, some clients will say here, like, well, what happens if it's really bad? I would say if for some reason it really got to this point that you thought it was really bad, you would come to us. But I would challenge you by filling out your manual scorecards against the scores to find the accuracy rating. And you're going to like, you know, going to see good results. Now let's end on the reviews dashboard, and then we'll save some time for me to answer some questions live, just in case there are things that Anesh wasn't able to get to. So with the reviews dashboard is a summarization of all of the human submitted scorecards, right? The human submitted reviews. At the top, these are the filtering options. You can click through them. And then one piece I'll call out is, let's say, like, I have a team of 10 agents and I want to see only my 10 agents. How would I do that? What I can do is I can choose them as the reviewee one by one. Or if I create a group, which is set up in the settings, I can create a group and then do a one click and it'll choose all those people. So let's say I want to see the agents. I'll start with that. And then maybe I also want to filter by the reviewer is me. I only want to see, oh, I don't have any reviews for, I'll do the agent version. Why not? We're going to choose the times where I am the reviewer. When I do this, if you want to save a view, right, what you can do is you'll see at the top the URL string changes as I add other filters. And then you can bookmark this view, so then you can always come back to the view that you like. That's a tip. I'm going to reset the filter so we can go through all of them. Pieces to call out here. IQS, right, internal quality score. This is the score across all of the tickets, all the scorecards. Over here, pass rate. So as a heads up, by default, Zendesk QA sets your pass rate of a scorecard to be 80%, meaning if they get an 80% or above on a scorecard, they pass. If they get less than 80, they fail. So what this is telling you is 44% of tickets, scorecards passed, meaning 44% of scorecards got an 80 or above. So that's what that means. We're going to scroll down further. We can see quality score over time, our IQS. We can see the particular categories and how they're performing over time. Average category scores. I'll come back to these two because this is my favorite visualization. I'll talk about the other things first. I can come down further. Remember, I talked about one of the benefits of the category groups was that you'd have reporting on the groups, which is the subsections of the scorecard. I can see here now, here are the groups and how they're performing. So now we can see like, oh, we're performing the worst in the product group or the process group. We can see category insights. So each of the parts of the scorecard, see how they're performing. We can also see the root causes, which is that follow-up form to see, you know, what is the most chosen root cause. Underneath process adherence, it's incorrect refund. If you have access to multiple workspaces, you can combine them and compare and contrast on this view. I'll talk about these two visualizations because I think it can be a little confusing. So the first one is the reviewer performance. When you see IQS here, I think it's a little counterintuitive. The IQS doesn't mean the score for this person. It means that the score that this person is giving out, right? So think of that as almost like maybe the IQS of this person's team, typically, right? So Miguel is the reviewer. He's giving out scores of 100%. And so what we can do here is we can say like, oh, it looks like Miguel is being too lenient with his scores. Like maybe we should check in with him. We could also see maybe down here, Ross giving a 0. Is it that Ross's team isn't performing well, or is it that Ross needs to get checked in on, right? So that's like the way you look at the reviewer performance part. Now scrolling down to reviewee performance, this is the one that I think people typically expect when they get to this part. This is how I can see the agent specific performance. So these are the agents. This is their IQS, right? This is actually tied to them, and we can see some trends and good stuff. And the last item I'll highlight here at the top is these two visualizations. Like I said, they're my favorite. So we have category score over target and category score 0. So one of the ROI benefits of Zendesk QA is it takes time, right, to enable a team. And instead of just like blanket making everyone do the same training every single time, you're able to find out where the team actually needs help and where the team deserves praise. And that's what these two visualizations show you perfectly. So on the left-hand side, category score over target. These are the categories that the team is absolutely crushing it on, right? They're doing a good job. So you can dig into it and say like, we're doing a really good job on greeting. We don't need to focus our energy on this. However, on the other side, category score 0, this is where you can really see change. These are the categories where the team is constantly failing their scorecards, right? So then we go like, what's going on? I'm going to click on this one, ID verification. And then I can drill into this. And now I'm going to see all of the scores where the team failed on ID verification. And since this one takes up a big chunk, right? It takes up 21% of it. Maybe that's something that we should focus our energy on. I can dig into it. I can look through the tickets. Why is the team getting this wrong? And then we can create some enablement resources for that. So we have about 9 minutes left here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment. I'll take a look at the chat. If you haven't asked your questions yet, feel free to do so now in the Q&A. So let me just take a look. Is there any, let's see, are there any ones that I should call out, Anesh? It's kind of, I can't hear you right now. I don't know if it's.
Sorry. There is one last message, one last question I think you could cover related with the acceptance rate being 0% for new accounts and how it works.
Oh, yes. Okay. So one of the pieces that I may have skimmed over and I shouldn't have, or I just want to make it clear. So I'll go back to sharing my screen. So if you remember, when I had said one of my best practices was that your scorecard should have a combination of manual categories and auto QA categories. The reason why that's important is accuracy can only be collected if you are submitting your score to the same category that the AI is submitting, right? So let's just say these two are auto QA categories, greeting and closing. If I also agree with these and I keep them the same and I press submit, that's a plus to the accuracy rating. If I disagree with these, that is a negative to the accuracy rating. Why you may be seeing a 0 is you need to submit to these categories for there to be any data to see whether or not you agree or disagree, right? So that's where it just takes some time. Over time, once you start to submit to these categories, you'll see that. I'd also say that, like, remember I said your default scorecard has all 8 categories, all default auto QA categories. Leave those the same. Don't touch those. What I recommend though for your manual one is pick and choose the auto QA categories that you actually care about the most, that you would want to answer anyways. And the reason I recommend that is I don't think it's a good use of your time to have a whole scorecard for auto QA where all you're doing is checking the AI. I think that's just not useful. Instead, just like make it part of your flow, include the auto QA categories that make sense for you. And then through the process, naturally and organically, you will be submitting to the same categories as the AI, and then that will give you the accuracy rating. If there's a one though that you're like, hey, we just want to check it, then add that in. right? You can do a little check and you can add or remove and go with the flow there. Excellent. Any other questions here? Any questions?
Okay, one new question from Iceland. To follow up to my question, will the auto QA start with the default scorecards? So for a brand new account, what is available there?
Yeah, so you can, one of the things to preface actually though is, so the default scorecard includes the auto QA, so the auto QA will run. There's just a couple of pieces that you do need to check on. So first off, remember underneath settings, you're going to have to go into the general settings as a Zendesk admin and make sure that these are turned on. If they're not turned on, the auto QA will not run. That's step one. Step two is in your workspace. This should be done already automatically, but you just would need to make sure in your workspace, the agents need to be in the workspace for them to be rated by the AI, right? If the agent is not here in the workspace, there is no person for the rating to be attached to. So those are the pieces that the necessary steps to get the auto QA working. ABS, where will this recording be uploaded to? I think we're just on a new platform, so I apologize. I don't know the full process, but you should be having this emailed to you. And we're also uploading it to YouTube. And if it's not this one, on our YouTube page, there are the exact trainings related. And then I'll answer one more and then we'll wrap up. So Angie said, can this program work only with auto QA or human reviews necessary for this to work well? So truthfully, our best practice and recommendation is you should be manually submitting reviews as well. You could, right? You could just have the auto QA do it, but like I said, there's just some limitations. Auto QA is only going to work on the customer facing side of the conversation on what the agent says. That's one. You can see internal tickets, but it's not working on internal tickets. It's not going to be able to know the exact process for your organization. There's still just so much expertise that I think is gained through your manual reviews. Plus, like, I think just like getting your eyes on the tickets and doing that work just makes a huge difference. That being said, like, you can still do less manual reviews, right? I don't want to totally discredit that. Whenever you're doing your filtering, I'll at least just call this out quickly. I know we have like 3 minutes. In your filters, if I'm going underneath to create a filter, there's this section here called categories. This is the auto QA. I can actually search for, like, show me tickets where the AI said that a solution wasn't offered. Then once I do that, I'm filtering down to find less conversations for me to manually review, because then it just like it takes a lot of the burden, and then the time that you're spending manually reviewing is more actionable. Cool. So we're going to close us off there. I'm just trying to move my screen around. So this was, like I said, the first part of a 3-part series. There are our other colleagues are going to be hosting the other ones. Since you've signed up, you should be joined for the other ones. So please come back as we will build on the knowledge. Thank you so much for the time. It's truly a pleasure, and we'll see you at the next one.